Well, we just know we have to be ourselves. You know, we have to fly around, have that energy every week. We attack practice like that, and we want to attack the game like that.
That's from a December 2016 interview with Edwin Jackson, the Colts linebacker who was killed along with his Uber driver in a crash Sunday morning. Police say the person behind the wheel of that second vehicle was drunk and driving without a license. Now, we continue to look back at Jackson's career and his impact here in Central Indiana and Indianapolis. I want to bring in Heather Lloyd to the conversation. She's known to her fans as the Blue Mare on Twitter. She's a contributor to Colts.com, Colts Roundup. She was a contributor here on Daybreak during the entire season. She's joining me by FaceTime here this morning. Good morning, Heather. I know this is a terrible conversation to have on any day, but to talk about the loss of a player on a team that you've covered so extensively. Talk about how you reacted when you heard the news that Edwin Jackson had been killed.
You know, it was weird because earlier in the day, the Indiana State Police sent out a tweet saying that 2 families were going to get some devastating news due to the actions of a drunk driver. And I retweeted it thinking that on Super Bowl Sunday, that was an important message for people, having no idea that I would actually know one of those victims. And he was, one of our own, Edwin Jackson, the linebacker. So a couple hours later, I got a text from one of my Colts colleagues saying that they wanted me to hear from them instead of seeing it on social media. And it's one of those texts you read a couple times hoping that you're reading it wrong. But it's devastating.
Heather, we've always leaned on you to give us kind of the perspective in the locker room for any issue, and you've gotten to know all of these players in a way that us away from the team will never get to know them. Explain the man that Edwin Jackson was.
He really, I mean, you say, you know, these guys are one of the good guys. I mean, Edwin Jackson was just, I mean, he is one of those guys who gave of himself in every way he possibly could. If he was just doing something fun with the fans, he was in there, you know, full on and giving it his all and really interacting with them and giving them that opportunity of a lifetime. If he was in the hospital singing with kids, you know, he was going to make sure that he left every single person he encountered, leave them with a smile and leave them feeling better. And he just did that so well. You know, he got hurt and he ended up having hip surgery before last season. So when last season started, he wasn't on the field, he wasn't practicing with his teammates, but he went to community relations and said, hey, I know I can't be playing right now, but I can be out reading to kids. I can be out doing other stuff. And he wanted them to set him up in a lot of, you know, whatever way they could to go out and still have his impact off the field, even when he couldn't be on the field. And that's who he was.
And you mentioned a story to me just before we came on here during the commercial break. You were saying that there would have been a time where he might not have gotten into the NFL if it weren't for his mom, who he loved and adored very much, and this amazing pound cake that she makes. What was that story?
Edwin Jackson comes from a really big family in Atlanta. He's got 9 siblings, and they're really, really close. And he came undrafted out of Georgia Southern. And in May of 2015, the Cardinals were going to sign him, but they wanted to interview him first. So they get him a plane ticket. He gets stuck in Atlanta traffic and misses his flight. So we talked about sitting down on the floor in the airport going, oh my gosh, who do I call? So he called his brother first, his older brother, Adam. And his brother said, call mom. And he just knew his family was going to be so disappointed. So he called his mom. She said, come home. We'll call your agent. We'll figure it out. So as he's on the phone with his agent, getting a new plane ticket, and reluctantly, the Cardinals brought him back out. They changed his ticket. His mom made up her famous pound cake and filled up his bag with her pound cake. So when he went out there, the way he describes it is that he put his bag on the table, opened it up, and like the steam from these pound cakes filled the room.
Wow.
And the coaches were like, what's that? And he pulled them out, and they ate pound cake with them, and they were like, this is the most incredible pound cake I've ever had. And the way he talked about his mother when he told that story, just adoringly, and how she literally helped save his career by being like, hey, we'll figure it out, come home, and makes her famous pound cake for the coaches. And yeah, actually that was his nickname was Pound Cake. At the Cardinals, it followed him to the Colts. His teammates adored him. I mean, he just one of the best, not only best teammates and best, Colts players, but really one of the best people you could really ever be around.
Wow. Heather Lloyd, thank you so much. It's so sad to think that these are the stories we probably would have never heard otherwise, but we're hearing them now to learn more about the man and The legacy that he leaves behind is how he made people feel so good all the time. Heather Lloyd, the Blue Mare from Colts.com and Colts Roundup, a contributor for us here on Daybreak. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. Yeah, you hope he can have a legacy now, and that'll be his, he'll touch other people to go do the same.
All right, thanks. Scott?